At least out there on Restream. It should be out there on YouTube, and here we are. It is the NBA Live Before Lock, brought to you by SuperDraft, along with one Adam Scherer. I'm your old pal Emac, coming to you on a Saturday afternoon here, and we have 1 hour until lock. 3 games today. It's looking to be an interesting one, Adam. We have all sorts of shifting things. No Damian Lillard, he's out of the bubble. No Aaron Gordon, he's out of the bubble. No surprises there. Yes, Russell Westbrook. That's going to shake things up with some of the minutes and the wings playing over there at Houston. And then what's the other wild card? Oh, yeah, Chris Paul. He's just always a wild card. Oh, and backs against the wall game for Orlando. This is lose or go home, but they're in Orlando, so they're already home. See what I did there, Adam?
I do. Glad I'm starting the show off well.
I just want to see if you were breathing, see if you're alive. So there we go. All right, look at that. We've got they're pointing out your bling here in chat. Yes, Adam's got the ropes on, the chains, the jewelry, as the kids like to call it. Not quite Mr. T, but somewhere in between, right? Let's see here. Couple fun things. We'll talk about SuperDraft here in a moment, but I do want to remind you we've got some really cool stuff over here at Awesemo. We have the Odds Shopper tool, which I will be talking about today because, Adam, there are some very cool things involved here, including player props, which make things rather easy to find for someone like me. I don't have to chase down this stuff at all these different sports books. I can just come on in here and check it out on the Awesemo Odds Shopper. So we'll talk about that in a bit. In the meantime, I'll drop that into Slack here in a minute. Now, how have you been going? How have you been doing here? So you got a couple days off, 4 days off from NBA.
Yeah, doing good. I mean, it feels like I did this show once already, because me and Lofty did it the other day. So it'll be interesting, to go back through it and see how I'm feeling myself. But yeah, obviously breaking this kind of a break from baseball. Golf's going on, so yeah, it was a different week, I guess.
All right, so looking here, I just wanted to call it up. We've got a few. So I'm going to drop this link into chat. I wanted to get it to where you guys could see it. But this is kind of covering some of the players in the first game here. But this is what's called Odds Shopper, and it is over here. It's part of Awesemo. So if you can go to oddshopper.awesemo.com, or you can go to the old awesemo.com, and across the top you're going to see a bunch of new headers there. We've got Awesemo Odds, which is different from Odds Shopper. We have our NFL season-long content. We've got side action. We've got the DFS stuff, etc. But you'll want to check this out. I've been looking at this the last couple days and haven't really had a chance to jump on the show here with it. But I like the fact that you can get right in and just see all sorts of player props conveniently. They're also pulling from 7 different sports sites, or 6 different sports sites, and then we highlight which has the best odds. Now, for player props, they're going to be kind of similar, but some of them will have different juice, as they call it, meaning are you paying more for the same number or not. But anyway, we'll talk about that in a bit. Let's jump on in our first game here, Adam. I've got I've got Orlando technically Milwaukee's the home team. 13-point favorites here for Milwaukee. Today, for me, because we have so many of those question marks in the late game, and Russell Westbrook is coming back, which, Harden's been without him for a little bit, and he hasn't been phenomenal without him. I'm really liking Giannis. Now, I figure that's probably the fish logic, because I haven't been super going after Giannis in most of these, but I don't like the risk of a Trailblazers just getting their butts kicked, and LeBron and or Davis getting maybe 30 minutes instead of 35. What are you doing with Giannis? That's the big number one question of the day.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously I like Giannis, but I do disagree with what you were saying there, because I think there's nothing like Giannis is great, obviously, but the ownership projections right now, like you have Giannis at 41%, you have LeBron James at 20%, you have Anthony Davis at 18%. There's obviously blowout risk in that late game, like you said. That game has a 14-point spread. This game has a 13-point spread. Why is everyone assuming that Orlando hangs in this game and Portland doesn't? To me, it doesn't really make sense. obviously there's blowout risk in both, but you're getting a huge ownership discount on a 3-game slate in that in the late game. It's going to be, like Lofty and I talked about it the other day. You can stack that game pretty easily at relatively low ownership because people are afraid of the blowout. Whereas this game, you have basically an identical spread. You have an Orlando team that has almost the same total as Portland does, and you're getting a lot of ownership going to Giannis on the Milwaukee side. You're getting a lot of ownership going to the Orlando side as well. To me, I just don't really think there should be that big of an ownership gap, even though Giannis does project as the number one scorer on the slate for me.
So are you going to kind of come in maybe 25-30% on all of them just to kind of balance it out, get ahead of the field on the late guys and below the field on Giannis?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't run a crunch yet, but my assumption is that's what I would do with ownership how it is right now. You have like obviously Harden's ownership is lower than Giannis's too, but he's different because you have Russell Westbrook back, so that actually changes something for Harden. Whereas there's no situation change for LeBron, there's no situation change for Davis, other than destroy Portland. But the same thing goes for Milwaukee and Orlando. So yeah, I just don't think that Giannis should be twice as owned as LeBron and Davis.
Okay. This is going to be a fun slate. Just when you thought it was all predictable and such, it's going to be a fun one because we are leveraging against the crowd. Or if you're like me, maybe you're doubling down and attacking with Giannis. Moving down here for the rest of the Bucks, we're seeing Middleton come in around 14% on DK, Brolo at 26%, Bledsoe at 15%, George Hill at 22%. Now we don't have a ton of value, and we're losing. Westbrook's going to take up a bunch of the minutes that have been going to some of the other Houston guys, so there's going to be a trickle-down effect there, and their prices are all up for being without Westbrook. So it shocked me to see George Hill coming in at now 22%. What do you want to do here with the tertiary pieces of the Bucks? Would you consider Hill, Connaughton, DiVincenzo, Wes Matthews, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really looking to the guys at the end there. George Hill, you can get some of. You're playing a lot of lineups. He should play 20 to 24 minutes. Obviously, you're just hoping to get the upper end there. DiVincenzo would be my least favorite out of the group just because he's typically playing the fewest minutes. Connaughton's normally getting in the low 20s. Matthews is getting low to mid 20s. Obviously, just doesn't usually do much when he's out there. But out of the group, Hill would be the one that I like the most. I still think that if his ownership is going to be that high, it's higher than it should be. Like George Hill, at 3,900 on DraftKings, at 22% ownership. Why is he twice as owned as Danny Green at basically the same price? Why is he higher owned than KCP at a cheaper price? Why is he higher owned than Caruso? Like I don't really know why the ownership's going to Hill at the expense of these other guys.
All right, I noticed someone put in chat that they thought they saw Hill as inactive. Everything that I've seen is pointing to him as probable with a sore finger, but he should be playing.
Yeah, the inactive was last game that ended up not playing.
Okay. Thank you. All right, now, middle pieces. The Middleton, the Bledsoe. Where do you want to approach these guys? Looks like Middleton may be working his way out of his funk. He's had a couple decent games. He still phenomenal player. He's just been, since the restart, has not been great. Do you want to go back there? Bledsoe working his way up to more minutes again. He feels kind of comfortable. The field's off of them right now.
Yeah, I think that with it being a 3-game slate, Middleton and Bledsoe become pretty interesting because, typically, obviously, if you're just like running projections and playing your highest projected lineups, it's going to give you Giannis. But you can kind of, if you're going with the approach that I was mentioning of, kind of favoring the lower owned LeBron and Davis, one way to fully leverage against Giannis is to go to the other primary scorers on Milwaukee. And you're just hoping that this is a game where Chris Middleton shows up and because basically, Giannis is going to get his. But if Chris Middleton comes out and plays to the level he's capable of, Orlando doesn't stay in this game. You saw it the other day when Middleton basically wasn't there for 3 quarters and then showed up in the fourth, and the game got out of hand real quick. The Magic just aren't good enough to hang if both stars on Milwaukee are playing well. So you can the easiest way to leverage against Giannis is to go to those other guys, Middleton in particular at 13% ownership. Hope that Middleton has a big game. Giannis takes a little bit of a step back, and then you lose a few minutes, maybe at the end for Giannis as well. And then, obviously you need Davis or LeBron later to do well. But you're kind of able to create, you can use Middleton to kind of create like a path for your lineup to win if you're going the route of hitting Giannis. If you're playing Giannis, I wouldn't want too many lineups at least where you have him and Middleton, just because it starts to get really tough unless you're full game packing to see how that works out.
All right, and then let's talk rules here for Milwaukee. I am going to call up my rules. I have one of Hill or Bledsoe, one of Dante DiVincenzo and Wes Matthews, and then this is an old rule, but one of Ersan and Marvin. I do not think I will end up playing either of those guys. What rules do you have? Or
same as you. I would add Connaughton to the DiVincenzo Matthews group.
Okay. If there's a blowout, who do you think benefits the most or least? I think Frank Mason the most. I don't know that it changes much for DiVincenzo, surprisingly.
I would think you get a little more run for DiVincenzo. I would get a little more run for Connaughton.
Okay. Any Kyle Korver thoughts?
No.
All right, let's talk about Orlando. So definitively, no Aaron Gordon. We've got Vooch, who has just been playing phenomenally. Three of the 4 games here, he's been above 50 DK points. 2 of them he's been above 60. He's someone I really like. Are you doing anything to say if you have Giannis, pair him with Vooch or vice versa?
No, because then you're just allocating a lot of money there. I think you could, like, if you have Vooch, you could definitely say that you want him with either Giannis or Middleton or Bledsoe, just because if Vooch does go out there and put up a big game, you're probably getting full minutes from the starters, and so you probably do get a good game from one of the main Milwaukee guys. I think if I am making that rule, I'd go that direction.
All right. Branching out from there, Fournier got a little bit off the schneid. Price keeps dropping. He's going to play a ton of minutes. He's going to be the focus of the Bucks defense outside of Vooch here. Thoughts at him at 5,400 on DK now?
I think the salary is okay. It's the main concern is just, that Milwaukee is clearly doing what they can to keep the ball out of his hands. They're having Wes Matthews chase him around screens and trying to keep the ball away from him. And you've seen that as far as his usage rate declining. The potential assists, the assist percentage are up a little bit. He's still playing big minutes. He's still cheap. And it's not like he's getting no shots up. He's still getting double-digit field goal attempts. So he's still a decent value. It's just that if you project him the same way that you are during the regular season, I think you're probably over-projecting him just because of how Milwaukee is attacking this. So I think that the ownership probably comes in a little bit higher than it should for that reason. And so he's someone where if I'm contrarian elsewhere in my lineup, I'm fine getting to him because he's still a fine value at 5,400. It's just that I think he is probably overprojected a little bit.
All right. Rules for Orlando. I am not playing Fultz or Augustine on the same team still. Is that in play for you today?
I prefer going max 2 or max 3 out of the Fultz, Fournier, Ross, Augustine group.
Little less limiting than what I'm doing, but still curbing the getting 3 of them.
Yeah, and the reason is that Fultz and Augustine do play alongside each other some, but it's more the closing lineup. You don't want too many of these guys because of the closing lineup. Like, Vooch is going to be out there. There's a decent chance that Gary Clark is out there. And then you're trying to get the correct 3 basically out of Fultz, Augustine, Ross, and Fournier. So even before you start considering, are there enough shots to go around to have all 3 or 4 of those guys in the same lineup? You also have to consider that there's a pretty good chance that all 4 of them are not closing at the end of the game.
I like that idea. I have now updated my rule. And then anybody else, Ennis, Clark, they're kind of back to being our de facto values here with Russell Westbrook returning and putting the kibosh on some of the Houston ones. And then we don't know what's going to happen there with Portland. We'll talk about them, but obviously in great detail when we get there. But the remainder of the Magic here, what do you like, not like?
Yeah, nothing I'm really excited about because the salaries have come up on Clark and Ennis. We know that Clark's going to get his 3-point attempts. The Bucks are fine letting him shoot those, and so he'll have opportunities and he should play around 28 minutes, most likely, maybe 30. But he's still just not he's not a productive player, and the salaries come up. Ennis is a little bit more productive on a per minute basis, but you still run into the playing time issue there because, like I said, with the closing lineups, you're going to have at least 3 of Fultz, Augustine, Ross, Fournier, possibly Clark for defensive reasons, and then Vooch, there's just a really good chance that Ennis is playing like 24, 25 minutes. And now that his salary's come up to 4,400, it's still tough for him to really put up a score that you need there.
All right. Josh Engelman says, hey, we've got 1,200 people here. We only have 112 likes. Come on. Let's get that up. Let's go for 150 here. It'll be fun. Plus, Adam's analysis will get better and better the more likes we get. It's a confidence thing. Adam, I saw you were on the Awesemo Best Ball show last night. I did not that was your first ever touting NFL show?
I think so, yeah.
That was excellent. A lot of fun. It's in the can every Friday. We're doing some best ball stuff. 2 weeks ago it was Alex, and it was Nolan. Last night was Adam. New host Leslie joined. Yeah, there's actually a girl that works here for those of you wondering, and you'll go, I'm sure, click on that now. And then Alex, they were doing a draft together over there on DraftKings for best ball, but we were using some of the new Awesemo tools, which are very, very cool. We'll talk about that shortly. In the meantime, over here on SuperDraft, number one player that we have projected for points right now, Nikolai Vucevic, coming in with a 1.25 modifier. Does take care of that pesky center spot. You've got Vooch at 1.25 multiplier, Whiteside at 1.35, Nurkic at 1.4, Lopez at 1.6. Still got to be Vooch, right?
Yeah, getting a relatively big multiplier on Vooch is really appealing.
All right, and if you have not yet signed up over there at SuperDraft, that's at superdraft.io. Use the promo code Awesemo10. Put in $10, they'll give you 10. Put in 100, they'll give you 20. Same promo code Awesemo10, Awesemo10. Check that out. All right, anything else from this game, or shall we continue along?
I think just in general, from kind of like a more macro viewpoint, we've seen it all series long with Orlando. You're getting really comparable pricing on their backcourt, and ownership tends to just move towards whoever had the better game most recently. And you're seeing it again today. You have Markelle Fultz at, I think, 3% ownership. So to me, they all grade out pretty similarly, whether it's Ross, Fournier, Fultz, or Augustine. So it's a spot where you should be pretty comfortable just doing, playing whoever's the lowest owned out of the group.
All right. Let's talk Russell Westbrook. Reports are he looks explosive in practice. He was ready to go a few days ago. A few more days of rest should help his quad. Are you treating him any differently at all than you would other than full health?
No, I'm treating him like I normally would. I have him in for, I think, 36 minutes, which is, I guess, a little bit lower than I would if he had been playing the whole time. But I'm not too concerned about his playing time. There have been some reports that he may be on a quote-unquote minutes restriction, but it's not, for one, he didn't miss a ton of time. He's been out for a couple of weeks. He was scrimmaging the other day. He supposedly looked really good in the scrimmage. But also, I assume he's been doing stuff in practice and to stay in shape. I don't think Russell Westbrook just suddenly got out of shape in 2 weeks. That would surprise me. D'Antoni typically doesn't really limit minutes for guys, and Westbrook isn't someone that's going to be asking to come out of the game. So I would be surprised if it's a competitive game and you got something like 30 minutes for Westbrook. I'd be really surprised. I think there's a better chance that he just plays normal minutes, assuming he doesn't re-aggravate his injury. So I'm treating it more or less like I normally would with Westbrook.
All right. How does that impact Mr. James Harden, who is, I think, 11,400 here on DK? Yes, 11,400 compared to Westbrook at 9,900.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously takes the projection for Harden down a bit. He still has that really high ceiling, but it does lower his median projection. And the problem is that his salary is still pretty expensive because obviously he's been playing for a while without Westbrook. So the salary's gone up kind of to take care of that. And it makes him, a little bit overpriced. He's $100 more than Giannis on DraftKings. I have him projected a couple points lower. You can make the tournament argument, of course, that the ceilings are close to the same, and Harden's getting about a little over half the ownership of Giannis. So you can make that argument. But from a medium projection standpoint, I think it makes Harden nowhere near as appealing as he was in the early games of the series.
Would you come in under the field at 25% on DK for Harden?
I think so. I think my approach most likely would be to allocate some more exposure to Davis and LeBron. And then I'm still, I'm not looking to just not roster Giannis either. So I think that where I'm looking to be contrarian, it'll probably be with the Lakers guys.
All right. Westbrook coming in at just 10% on DK. Feel like going double that maybe?
Yeah, I think that's a spot that you can go to. I mean, it's a 3-game slate, getting Russell Westbrook with a lot of uncertainty, and he's also at a pretty expensive price tag at 9,900. So I think that does keep the ownership down. As you said, we haven't projected at about 11%. Um, he was playing really, really well. Basically ever since they got Covington, you saw the usage for Westbrook go up without or in the games, even when Harden plays. And if you assume that the Thunder are going to continue shadowing Harden with Lou Dort, that opens the door for Westbrook to be the guy that carries this offense. I would assume that Oklahoma City would rather Westbrook be the guy that has to beat them coming back from injury than Harden. So I think there's a chance that you get Westbrook kind of being kind of in like a funnel spot, I guess, if you want to borrow from football analysis, like where, OKC is, they know one of those two guys is going to have the ball the whole game, and they would probably rather it be Westbrook.
All right, my rule for Houston, I call it the Houston Wings for lack of a better name, but I know what it means. I'm no more than 2 of Gordon, House, Green, Tucker, McLemore, and Covington. I'm not really excited by any of them. I mean, I guess Eric Gordon, House, and Green would be my 3 favorites, but they're going to get, all these guys are going to, have to cough up the 36 minutes that are going to go to Westbrook. So I think with where their pricing is, what's going to happen with those extra shot attempts, and heck, at this point, even rebound attempts, I think it sort of tempers everybody there. How do you feel about the Wings here?
Yeah,
Slash front court, nominal front court.
I agree with that completely. I think that, like, in a perfect world, I probably wouldn't roster more than 1, but I'm not. I set the rule at 2 also, just because it's gonna. If I set it at 1, it's gonna limit my lineup that I create. But yeah, I'm concerned about everything you said. The minutes can take a haircut. The usage obviously goes down. The rebounding can go down. My assumption is that a lot of the minutes are cut from McLemore and from Austin Rivers, and that the Wings still play around 30 minutes apiece, but that's not a guarantee. I mean, you could still easily get 14, 16 minutes from Rivers and, mid to upper 20s from guys like Daniel House. So I think there's a lot of risk there. I do think there's going to be some overlap as far as them, whichever of them, or if one of them has a big game, it's probably because he had an unusually high number of rebounds, which probably means he took them from the other guys. So I am really trying to limit how much I get to those guys.
All right, I added Rivers in there. That definitely makes sense as well. This is from Moses Guthrie in the premium chat. They get the nod first for questions. Would you play Harden and Westbrook together?
If I'm game stacking, sure. I don't know how easy it is to do because Oklahoma City is relatively expensive also. I just wouldn't want like a Harden Westbrook team, I don't think, that doesn't have, any of Paul or Gilgeous-Alexander or Schroeder.
All right, let's go on to the next side. So I have my rule here, although I think I got this one from you. I call it the OKC Wings. This is the Adam Scherer high usage guys. No more than 2 of Gallo, Paul, Schroeder, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has been outstanding in the last few games. But I still think capping these at 2 outside of my game stacks is the way to go. Is that your approach? And then who do you like from the front court?
Yeah, that's my approach. And you mentioned it with the game stacks. If you're like, you can play all 3 guards. Just I would be, if I do that, I think I would be looking to get as much from this game as possible, because the main way for that to work is that the Portland game blows out and the Milwaukee game blows out, and that the OKC game is the only game that stays competitive, which is certainly possible on this slate, in which case there's more of an advantage to having, all of the OKC guys, but you also would want the Houston guys. So more appealing to me to do that in a game stack than just in random lineups. As far as the front court goes for OKC, Steven Adams is really weird because on one hand, he projects pretty well because he's so cheap. He's only 5,500 on DraftKings. I have him projected for 27 minutes, and even at 27 minutes, he comes in as a pretty good value, especially considering the center position on this slate isn't very good because you have the Lakers who don't, really have a center for DFS purposes. You have Brook Lopez. You don't have a real center for Houston. Vooch is relatively expensive, and Nurkic is relatively expensive. So it's not the best center slate. My concerns with Adams are that I think it's unlikely he closes games the rest of the series because OKC has shown that they want to use Dort on Harden. He's been the best guy out there at slowing Harden down. And you know that Gallinari's closing, you know that Gilgeous-Alexander, Paul, and most likely Schroeder are closing. That only leaves one spot. And defensively, Lou Dort has a bigger role here than Steven Adams does. So definitely concerned about Adams' minutes. That you see 26, 27 for him as opposed to the 35 he played a couple of games ago. So that concerns me. But again, the salary is just so low that he still projects pretty well if you give him 26 or 27 minutes.
All right. Yeah, only other rule I have is one of Noel and Adams, and I really am not going to get much of either.
I added Lou Dort to that rule, by the way.
Ooh, okay. Dort, we have at 7. Well, let's just call it 10%. Adams, we have at 25. I have flipped those, so I'm going to outpace the field on Dort just as a dice roll and then come in under Adams. Adams is, you really wanted him to get that double-double bonus. He got it in the first game. Ben either got rebounds and needed a couple more buckets or got buckets and then needed a couple more rebounds. Westbrook coming back in, I'm curious to see how that impacts Adam. Obviously, they're not on the same team, but does one more quick guy running around Adams to get the rebound hurt him? I don't know from that standpoint. So Adams is kind of the odd man out here. And who knew? Dort is going to be the guy I go to. I can't believe it. All right. Anything else you want to hit on from this game?
Gallinari is kind of just there. Like, if you've been playing NBA DFS, you know who he is. He's going to play 34 minutes. He'll project to get low 30s in fantasy points and be a decent value. He's just not really that volatile. He very, very, very rarely actually has a ceiling game that you have to have in your lineup.
So if we have him, 1/3 of the teams are going to have him. I'm going 1/3 of that. I have him at 10%. You are welcome. This will be the day a couple rebounds bounce towards him. He lucks into a couple steals and his shot is falling. And he gets 37 fantasy points for you. Congratulations. I'm not playing much of him at all. All right, final game of the night. Look at that. We're being thorough. We've got a half hour left to go here. All sorts of goodness. I want to talk about... I'm going to talk about a nice little article here that is going to be a regular feature coming in. It's going to be a free one. This is called, going to be Ben Raza is going to be putting out his favorite pick of the day. Today, it is going to be from the Blazers and Lakers game. We know that Damian Lillard is out, so he is featuring CJ McCollum. We have an over-under on, at least when he wrote this, for McCollum's points at 26.5. And that's at plus 106 on the money line. So, where do you have McCollum for points scored?
I'm not sure. 24.5.
Okay, so you guys got to click the article to find out Ben's answer on this one, but it's now in the chat. But you can check that out. The other fun thing you can also do is you can check out Odd Shopper, which is our new feature here that breaks down all player props, pulls them from 6 different sources. We got DK, FanDuel, BetMGM, BetRivers, Sugar House, PointsBet, that brings in this information here, and you can see it all together at once. So it's a nifty tool, especially helpful regardless of whether you can do betting in your state or not, but it's helpful from a fantasy perspective to kind of get eyeball, strikeout props, player points, player rebounds, player assists, kind of fun stuff like that. Super chat here, so we'll go on this next. How much value do you put on the 4 bench players of the Blazers? Do they have the best value, do you think, or is it going to be the starters likely logging 40 minutes that have the better value?
I prefer the starters, and part of that is due to how ownership's projecting right now. Lofty and I talked about it the other day when we talked about this game, and ownership looks pretty similar today as how it did then. I didn't do it today because I already knew the answer, but I did the other day. I projected the game as if it stays close to the end, and then I projected the game as if it's over by the third quarter, and gave the minutes accordingly. And then I took the lineups that I had made with those 2 sets of projections, and I used basically median projections from those 2 different outcomes to see, factoring in ownership and those median projections, which set of lineups, kind of did better. And it overwhelmingly was telling me that at the respective ownerships, I should be playing McCollum and treating it like the game stays close, playing McCollum, playing Davis, playing LeBron. And so that's the approach I'm taking. I just think with how the ownership looks, there's a bigger advantage to going after the Portland starters. And Lofty and I made the point the other day. It's not a black and white thing where you can't look at it as this game's going to blow out or this game is not going to blow out. Everything is probabilities. And even if you say, let's say there's a 40% chance that this game blows out and is over by the third quarter, which for context, 40% is a ridiculously high chance. I don't know what the actual number is, but it's lower than 40%. That's still 60% of the time that you're getting 42 plus minutes from CJ McCollum without Damian Lillard. And he's only like 30% owned right now. So I just think there's a bigger advantage in assuming this game stays close and trying to take advantage of relatively low ownership because it seems like everyone else thinks there's no chance of that happening.
Yes, in chat, not sure what the context is, but yeah, Damian Lillard has left the bubble, so he would have to quarantine to come back in. He's done for the year, for the season. Same thing with Aaron Gordon. So CJ, four days off here to help that semi-hairline fracture in one of his back vertebrae. Probably a good thing. Does that have any concern for you at all?
The only real concern would be that, maybe there's some risk, I guess, that like if the game is getting out of hand, that Stotts just throws in the towel if, it's bothering McCollum, but I'm not factoring that in anything.
Okay. All right. So Dame is going to allow a lot of shot attempts and potentially some assists to be out there, or his absence will. How are you feeling about Nurkic coming in? And we've seen good games from him. He's arguably going to be the number 2 offense here, or number 2 offensive option, I guess. They're going to play him next to Whiteside. They're both going to get shots. I guess we'll see Melo out there on the elbow with his 36-year-old bones shooting them up. What do you want to do here with the other responsibility, usage, etc., that is going to be available for some of these other guys?
Yeah, so I think you'll see some more usage for Nurkic. You'll see some more shot attempts for Melo. You should see a ton of minutes for Gary Trent. Don't know yet what the starting lineup is going to look like. We had seen Whiteside starting next to Nurkic. Whiteside went back to the bench last game, but then now you have, obviously a completely different lineup. So I don't know if Whiteside stays in the starting lineup. I don't know if they go with Anthony Simons, but I think that, there obviously is more usage to go around. McCollum's the primary beneficiary, but more minutes for Trent, more minutes for Simons, more shot attempts for Melo, a little bit more usage for Nurkic as well.
Do you have a favorite amongst those guys? For me, it's going to be Simons.
Amongst the Blazers in general?
Yeah.
McCollum.
I'm sorry, amongst their also rounds, which is
Trent.
Basically. Okay, so you will be willing to go there. Did you see that one clip on Twitter with LeBron? I didn't realize this. It makes sense, but LeBron played against his dad. That's kind of funny. Gary Trent Sr.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, no, he had like a side by side picture, and he was like giving him kind of like an elbow or shielding him away. And it was
he play in the NBA?
Yeah, Gary Trent.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that.
Once upon a time, yeah, back when I started playing fantasy basketball. All right, that was ages ago. Let's see here. All right, what do you want to do with the Lakers?
I think I'll be getting to a lot of them because, like I said, I'm getting a lot of Portland. And if I'm treating this, if I'm playing a lineup that is assuming the game stays close, it's staying close for both teams, and you're getting minutes for both sides. You're getting a price discount on LeBron and on Davis. You're getting, a really good matchup as far as Portland being a bad team defensively. So I like getting there, but then also the value. I kind of mentioned it earlier that you had a lot of projected ownership going to George Hill. You'll probably get some going to guys like Clark and like James Ennis, but I still think it's a good matchup for the Lakers, and you have really cheap KCP, Alex Caruso, and Danny Green. I'm not playing more than 2 of those guys in a lineup, but I like using them as value. We do have a questionable Rajon Rondo, who, if he's in, kind of can take minutes away from Caruso potentially. But assuming he doesn't play, I think that all 3 of the Lakers guys are pretty solid values.
All right, speaking of solid value over here on SuperDraft, they've got some room in their flagship contest today. It's a $7,000 NBA jump shot, 25 minutes to go, still 260 spots. That is a 20 entry max. It is $12. There's thousands or 1,600 spots left in the nickel. If you just want to go over there and dabble, they also have a free roll that you can go check out. It's kind of fun over there. No real position or salary cap restrictions. You do have to play 3 guards, 3 forwards, and a center. A few people have multi-position eligibility, but they do multipliers. So you literally could play Giannis, Davis, LeBron, Vooch, all in the same lineup if you'd like. However, some of those guys like Giannis are going to have a 1 multiplier. If you look at someone like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he has a 1.45 multiplier. So if Giannis scores 60 points and Gilgeous-Alexander scores 40 points, they're going to end up with about the same points at the end of the day. So it's kind of an interesting aspect. People tend to go heavy on the superstars here. You could find some leverage value on other plays. Probably my 2 favorite plays today are Gilgeous-Alexander and Chris Paul at a 1.45 and 1.4 multiplier respectively. We talked about Vooch earlier. He's probably your best center option with a 1.25 multiplier. We have him set up or projected as the best overall play of the day. Let's see here. So check that out. What's KCP, Danny Green, JaVale, Howard? Any rules around these guys, or just don't play them? Play one at most.
don't play Howard and McGee together. And then I have a max 2 for Caruso, KCP, and Green.
Okay. Back to your Rondo. Do you think he plays?
I don't think he plays.
I'm failing to kind of see any upside.
The upside would be that he can go out there and run around for 16 minutes and try and get ready for the next series.
Get legs. Yeah, yes. Yeah. But he has not played at all in the bubble.
Yeah, he thought he was coming back one game and then had back spasms and was barely able to walk out of the gym.
Oof. Never fun. All right, another super chat here. Chris Scanlon would like to know, and I'm calling it up here just in case you aren't playing over on FanDuel today. Oh, come on, FanDuel. Load for me. He would like to talk about power forwards on FanDuel. When I was doing the cheat sheets earlier today, if I remember correctly, it's pretty barren. I would think you almost have to play Giannis in this. And then
he's a small forward.
Is he? My thing's not loading. It's killing me.
Davis projects like 30 points higher than the next highest power forward.
Yes. So Davis is, oh my God. So then you're down to Rocco, Kuzma, Jeff Green, Gary Clark, Nerlens Noel.
Yeah, I mean, it's just prioritizing Davis there, because like you look at the other stars. You have Giannis and LeBron both at small forward. You have Harden at shooting guard, where you also have McCollum, where you have Gilgeous-Alexander, where you have Middleton. You also have Gallinari at small forward if you need to pay down. Power forward is just dead. Like, you just play Anthony Davis and then rotate between Covington and Green and Kuzma and Gary Clark if you must.
Yeah. That's just, wow. That is just not fun at all. If I was making one lineup, I'd probably end up with Gary Clark because I'd be trying to get another stud in there from.
I would probably, if I'm making one lineup, I'd probably look to Green.
To Green?
Yeah.
All right. For game stack, another super chat here. Adam, you're bringing them in today. We've got this is from Zach Gerhardt. He says, for game stack lineups, which game are you targeting and why? Or is it is stars and scrubs the best play? So it's like 2 questions. Would you go for a game stack, or would you just go in general stars and scrubs?
I'm not forcing game stacks, but I do like the idea, especially of game stacking the Portland and Lakers game. And the reason is, for one, the ownership clearly is factoring in that it can be a blowout, which it certainly can. But if you think about this game staying close, all these guys are underpriced. Like, if you know that this game's competitive late in the fourth quarter, $8,100 McCollum is too cheap. $5,800 Melo is too cheap. $4,800 Trent is too cheap. 10 whatever for LeBron and Davis is too cheap for both. 4K or below for 27 to 32 minutes of Danny Green, KCP, and Caruso. Like, their prices factor in the blowout risk here. And so getting them all together in a lineup and trying to maximize your ceiling that way, I think makes a lot of sense. Obviously the game stack that is most appealing from a likelihood of staying competitive standpoint would be the Houston game. But the problem there is that you're paying a premium. Like, Westbrook's not underpriced. Harden's not underpriced. The OKC guards are priced much where they should be. The Houston wings are all overpriced as a result of Westbrook being out for the whole series. So it's a much less cost-effective game stack compared to the upside that you get from the Lakers and Portland game.
Right. In Premium Slack, they were asking, would we play LeBron and AD together? Yes, but more in a game stack would be.
Yeah, it depends what's on the other side. I'm not playing Davis and LeBron together and then not running it back with Portland guys, because if Davis and LeBron both go for 60-plus fantasy points, either they were incredibly efficient or these cheap Portland guys paid off their salary.
All right, so I'm going to crunch my lineups here. In listening to Adam, I am going to go a little under on Giannis from the field. I'm going to go over on Davis and LeBron. I am going under on Harden, and I'm going over on Westbrook. McCollum, let it ride. How I'm doing my game stack, so I'm building half my lineups right now. I'm looking at it, looks pretty decent. I had all those other rules in play that I mentioned. Now I'm going to go suspend those rules, and I'm going to do some game stacks. So what I do when I do that is I am better with just letting I try to pick 2 guys on one side, 3 on the other, who I think will be closing. So you're not gonna. It's hard to get like all the stars, or all the primary components, and still have a bunch of other good stuff. You're getting some scrubs here and there. If you have time to build it out, you're better off of trying to just figure out, can I get in some tertiary plays on these that might luck into closing, like an Anthony Simmons. Pardon me, God damn it, Simons. I even went and watched for 5 minutes highlights. He's pretty good. And I heard Kevin Calabro say, Simons. And in my mind, I kept saying, Simon says. And here I am calling him Simmons. Jesus. I'm done for the day. We're logging off. We're out of here. Okay. 19 minutes left. Now you guys can laugh at me. Hit that like button if you think that was funny, or if you like to make fun of me. We are at 300. Let's get that up to. I think we can get to 375 here. We got 1,500 people joining us here on a nice Saturday. Reminder in the can. We already have the NASCAR show. This is Daytona. So it's the wild card race. It's where you basically don't play anybody starting in the first 20 or 25 drivers, or limit it to 1 in the top 10, and then 11 through 20. You can limit 1 within that as well. It's very unique, of course, but you got that show out there. We've got some free content for you as well. We also have MMA this afternoon. That will be coming up. And then Live Before Lock baseball at 6 o'clock. We have a 6-game slate, so we will be breaking that down as well. Tomorrow, special time, MLB Live Before Lock. Not quite Live Before Lock. The strategy show will be from 11 to noon. And then from noon to 1, you will get the NBA Live Before Lock. That will be with Josh Engelman and Zach Bruner. All right, Adam is locked in. Yes, he is, folks. He's going to have a good day today. I can feel it. He's wearing his lucky hat backwards with the chain and the hat and the chain. Bring together the shirt. Somebody asked me if do I drive for UPS? No, I do not. This is actually a gray shirt, but it's here. Virginia Beach from the half marathon from last year, 2019. So got that nice little dry fit shirt. But yeah, I guess it does kind of look brown here. My brother did for about 4 or 5 months drive for UPS 2 holidays ago. He got laid off from his sales job, and he went and drove for them. He said it was kind of interesting. You never stop moving when you're working for those guys. All right. If you are paying down on FanDuel and you want to go with a cheap point guard, who's catching your eye? Is it going to be Augustine, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, it depends how cheap you're talking, but yeah, Augustine I think looks like the best out of the sub 5K guys. Obviously Bledsoe and Fultz offer some value as well, but I would have $4,500 Augustine ahead of a $4,300 Simons or a $4,100 Caruso or a $4,400 Hill.
How do you feel about Brook Lopez? We didn't really mention him directly.
Yeah, I think he's a little underpriced, especially because, again, the center position's not that great today. Like, in that price range, you basically have Lopez, you have Adams, and you have Whiteside. There's legitimate concerns on the minutes for both of Whiteside and Adams. Whiteside, you also have, well, Adams and Whiteside both, you also have production concerns because Adams just isn't doing anything offensively, and Whiteside loses some rebounds to Nurkic, even if he does get more minutes alongside him. So you have those concerns. Lopez, you have the production concerns, obviously, too. He's not going to get a ton of rebounds, especially with Vooch pulling him away from the basket as well. But you should get 32 to 34 minutes, assuming a competitive game. And you should get plenty of open looks for Lopez as well. So I think that, ownership notwithstanding, Lopez is my favorite guy out of those three. But do, pay attention to ownership because they do have very similar range of outcomes.
Is Mario Hezonja going to be on any of your lineups? That's a legitimate question.
No, I know. I don't think so. If I were playing 150 max today, I might have a little. I'd probably have a little bit, especially because there is at least some risk of the game going sideways. So you project some lineups that way if you want to, and then also you just don't really know how this is going to play out. Like, I think the assumption is that Whiteside gets more run and that Trent obviously gets more run and Simon gets more run, but they potentially could give more to Hezonja, especially if he comes out and is playing well. So I think, kind of based on what we were seeing prior to Whiteside joining the starting lineup, it doesn't seem like Stotts likes playing Hezonja that much, which obviously you can't blame him. So I'm thinking that Whiteside and Simons are the beneficiaries of the extra minutes ahead of Hezonja, but obviously that's an assumption and it could certainly be wrong, and Hezonja is cheap. So, not in my 3 max lineups, but if I was playing 150, I could see getting this one.
I think Yusuf Nurkic is going to come in less than the 16% we're projecting. I think people are really only going to get him in game stacks.
I think that's possible because I have him projected higher than Alex does. I like him, and he's not in any of my top lineups. So
no, he literally can't. I have to lock him in using our projections just to get him in a few lineups, and this is just going to be game stacks, which I'm fine with. I was just surprised that he literally came up in no lineups.
Yeah, I mean, he, like, when I crunched 1,000 lineups, he came up in like 10%. But then when I start looking at my lineups and going by, factoring in ownership and projection and stuff, he's just not being favored. So, knowing that I probably like him more than most people do, and that I probably factor ownership in more than most people do, and he's still not getting there, he's probably pretty low on.
Yeah, which makes it feel like there's a nice little play for us to get to. All right, make 2 more lineups here randomly for luck, and then I'm going to do my uploads. Looking. Nothing really popping up here for news. Magic, we do have their lineup. That was an hour ago. Fultz, Fournier, NS, Clark, Vooch. No surprises. Kyle Lowry, probable for Sunday. Whatevs. And that's it. We'll be doing a Fred Van Elite Fan Club contest. Check out my pinned tweet. As soon as they post those games, I'm going to create that. And if you win, it's going to be on DK. 100 person must fill to run. Just $1. Top 20 are paid out. And if you win with an Awesemo avatar, I will get you 30 free days of Awesemo all access premium content that does not include Fantasy Cruncher. If you would like Fantasy Cruncher, that is a separate add-on. But it's a pretty good deal. It's a pretty good deal, and it's very winnable. Hey, I won it 2 times ago. Just saying. Let's see. Does not look overlay, except for those of you interested in SuperDraft, there are still 230 spots left in their $12 entry fee $7,000 contest. There are 11 minutes to go. We'll talk about them in just a sec. Let me upload my DK lineups here. And okay.
I found the Nurkic lineup to play, so hopefully we're right about the ownership.
It'll be, yeah, it really jumped off the page of him not being on there. So, wow, that is one guy I didn't know what to do with. But, Noah Lillard, We don't know what's going on with or without Whiteside. How much is he going to get fed? We'd like to think it'd be a reasonable amount, but that could go sideways. Portland could just go for the we're shooting nothing but threes and we're going to try to win. So Nurkic is just left cleaning the glass and maybe getting some putbacks. But he is a good passing big man as well, so he could always do an inside-out game. So there's a lot of paths for him to success, but not the easiest of matchups, as we have seen. Where's my Fantasy Cruncher tab? Downloading. Choosing the 330 player pool, because there's nothing worse than oof. Wow, 46% McCollum for me, 46% Whiteside, 43% Davis, 34% Caruso, 26 LeBron, Lopez 26, Giannis 34. Ride or die with Anthony Simon.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, not yeah. A good thing I'll be able to watch some basketball, right? And baseball and NHL. By the way, we've got our projections up. There's a slate for that. There was an all-day slate beginning at 12. Then there's a 7 o'clock game and a 9:45 game. I am playing everything today but MMA, Adam. I've got golf lineups in. I'm going to make my NASCAR lineups after this. I've already got my hockey lineups in. Playing the showdown. I'm playing the tiers. I'm playing every format there is on DraftKings today. This is probably.
Why aren't you playing?
Why am I not what?
Playing MMA.
Because I don't know.
It's been my best sport since.
I had to draw the line somewhere, I guess. Upload this. Can you see if your mic was cutting in and out there? Did you bump your cord or anything?
Oh, maybe. Is it better now?
Better now. Much better. Okay. All right. Wait, how much money are you playing today, Emac? I have about $500 in play across all the sports. So not a ton, but it's what I'm comfortable with doing. So there we are. Adam calls that fire and forget lineups. So. All right, I've got that here. Let's do a little super draft. So I've got Paul, Anthony, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Vooch in my shell lineup here that I am playing around with. Would you go with LeBron at 1.05 or Davis at 1.05 or Giannis at 1?
Yeah, whichever's the lowest owned. Giannis will project the best, even with the multipliers, I think. I'm double checking now. But yeah, they're all going to be so comparable there, like projecting within like a point or so of each other.
Yeah, Davis is like 4 points back. I'm going to go with Davis. I bet less people are.
Yeah, I mean, on SuperDraft, I have Giannis at 62. I have LeBron. I have Davis at 61, and I have LeBron at 60.
All right. Excuse me. I like the Carmelo Anthony at 1.65 there. Sorry, coughing fit. 2 more guard spots. Eric Bledsoe at 1.6 or Russell Westbrook at 1.15.
Who was it? Bledsoe.
And Westbrook. Yeah, and Westbrook.
So I have Westbrook at 56. I have Bledsoe at 48.
Yeah, we only have Bledsoe at 44, so not quite as good there. I've already got Chris Paul in my lineup. And Gilgeous-Alexander. Okay, Westbrook for 1.15 or Harden for 1.
I have Harden ahead of Westbrook by 3 points.
Oops, Simons is at a 2x multiplier, just for those playing it.
Yeah, that's obviously good value. McCollum at 1.35 obviously is good too.
All right, so there is, let's see, their Trey, which is their $3 contest that has 140 spots left. Their NBA jump shot has 300 spots left. I'm entering that now. That number feels off. Let's go look at this page real quick. And then they do have NASCAR. as well. NASCAR's a lot of fun in this. 170 spots left. Sorry, I just hadn't hit refresh. It didn't auto update there. 100 spots left in the tray, which is their $3 contest if you want to go dabble there. And then the nickel has 1,200 spots left, and you can enter up to 40 lineups, and it costs a nickel to enter each lineup. I'm going to put one in the nickel because why not? All right, I've got that lined up, and if you guys have that's SuperDraft.io. Their site is meh. Their app is really good, so I like to use their app a lot, but that's hard for me because I prefer using the desktop for everything else. So I go back and forth. But check out the app. That's SuperDraft.io. Use the promo code Awesemo10. That's Awesemo10 when you put in your first deposit, and they will give you $10 if you put in $10. If you put in $100, they'll give you 20. That comes in the form of Super Cash, which is available for immediate use. They're asking for 3 players from the optimal lineup. On SuperDraft, I would say that would be Booch. I would say Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and I would say Chris Paul. Those would be the guys I'm closing that file up.
I would say McCollum, Giannis, and Paul or Harden.
Right, 350 likes. Come on, I am with 370. We got 1,300 people left. We got 5 minutes to go. Doing a quick spin around there. Again, as I mentioned, there is room on SuperDraft. DK. Whoa, did DK really fill everything? That would be pretty impressive. A lot of pent-up basketball desire here after 4 days off. Let's let that filter up. DK. Oh, their $20 shoot around has 1,400 spots left in it. That is the secondary contest. There are 3.5 minutes to go. Adam's going to go export his lineups into there because he's a DGen. And then there's going to be some room in their 4-point play, 20 entry max. There's 500 spots left. SGA and McCollum or Simons and Giannis. He is playing LeBron.
SGA McCollum.
Whiteside or Jeff Green? Whiteside for me.
Yeah, Whiteside. I think they're similar. I don't love either one.
Yeah, if Westbrook was not back, it would be Jeff Green.
Yep.
I think rather clearly. Danny Green or Simons?
Ownership.
They'll both rip your heart out. You'll watch them both miss a lot of shots tonight.
They both project for like 19 or 20 points for me.
Let's see here. I should jump into the DK. Think I can find a lineup I like quickly? Oof. I'm not clicking on the Kyle Korver lineup. How the hell do I have a Kyle Korver lineup? That's what happens when you do game stacks and you click on the really highly, a lot of the highly popular guys. Let's go with. God, here's a horrible line. Schroeder, Caruso, Dort, Giannis, Lopez, Simons, Davis, Whiteside. That's no correlation anywhere. All right, let's go with Simons. I think Caruso is the play. I am going with Chris Paul. I'm making a lineup. We'll see if I get it in time. Small forward, not really great. Let's go with LeBron. Let's go with McCollum. Let's go with Whiteside. All right, that gives me. Oh, I said Dort. Now I got a power forward. Oh, I'm not going with Gallinari. I refuse. I'm going to have to wave off LeBron. I don't really want to go with Hazonia. Dort or Danny Green?
I went Danny Green in the lineup that I had Dort and was playing in Premax. But I also just turned it into a full Portland game stack.
All right, I'm going to enter that. And bonus, I'm in. There's overlay, and I didn't pick anybody from the 3 o'clock game, so I'll sort that one out later. But it's going to end up filling anyway. All right, well, that's doing it for us. We're coming up here up to lock. Sorry, got a little off track there, but that's what you sometimes you got to get ready for that that overlay. You're never quite sure where it's going to pop up. There was some heavy overlay on the all-day baseball slates yesterday over on Yahoo, so I missed out on that. My buddy Seth pointed out to me, and I was on a work call, so I didn't get to see that text. All right, we can breathe easy now. In 2.5 hours, there will be MLB Live Before Lock. I think we're about an hour away from MMA Live Before Lock.
Also, there was an MMA fight cancellation, so if you're making MMA lineups, be aware of that.
Excellent. All right, and then tomorrow, 11 o'clock, we will have the MLB Live Before Lock / DFS Strategy Show, and then at noon, up until the 1 o'clock tip-off, will be the NBA Live Before Lock. Oh, a couple more likes before you guys get out of here. We're almost at 400. That would be a nice touch here at the end of the day, and we truly would appreciate it. All right, with that, we are going to get on out of here. You can follow Adam over at Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. I am at Emac DFS, and of course, it is Awesemo _COM. With that, good luck, gamers.